welcome Nick, who's literally, as he was saying, from Budapest, and he has an amazing career with internships, with analytics right now. He's working on the football benchmark, and he is a Vivid member. He has witnessed a couple of our sessions before, and I reached out to him because I think it's a good profile, and it's a good it's going to be amazing to hear his journey and give us a little bit of hope that we're not that far behind him on our dreams, and giving an opportunity for an amazing career. So if you want to take it away a little bit of explaining how did you reach the position you're right now, Nick, and just take it away.
Yeah, sure. First of all, good afternoon to everybody, and thanks for having me, of course. Before I start, I would like to congratulate you guys in the sports management club, because I think what you do is quite amazing. I really wanted to have something like this, like these kind of stuff, of talking to people who are in sports right now. I think this helps a lot, so keep the great work up. I think it's very important to connect and to do sessions like this we're doing right now. Okay, so if you don't mind, I start a bit about myself, how I got here, and then maybe I move on and talk a bit about KPMG, about the football benchmark, about what we exactly do. Yeah, well, I'm an IE alumni. Obviously, I finished my master management degree in December 2019, so it is really not too far away. I already said 5 minutes ago that I feel a bit more like I should be on the other side of this screen, being one of you. I am still feeling like this Madrid student life is quite close. So there has happened a lot in the meantime, in the last 2 months. Before coming to IE, I did my bachelor degree in Cologne. There's this sports university called German Sports University in Cologne. I studied sport management and communication. This took me 3 years. I think during this time, the focus of this program was more on the sports side than on the management side. This was obviously one reason why I decided to become a bit more practical and more used to the management aspects of sports. So the next logical step was to go to a business school, because I really wanted to go to another country to study abroad, to have some business insights, because that's one thing that I was really missing. Maybe we get back to this later. Maybe we can deepen this topic about studying sports or not studying sports. I think that is also very interesting. Between my bachelor and my master degree in Madrid, I did one traineeship at Infront. Infront is one of, let's say, the 2 biggest sports marketer in Europe. They are selling broadcasting rights, they are selling sponsorship rights, they are working closely together with clubs and federations, not only football, also other types of sports, winter sports. That was very interesting. I was based in Cologne, working for the club from Cologne, FC Köln. This was a bit more related to marketing and sales. My tasks there, it was, if I compare now these 6 months to my 3 year sports management bachelor degree, I would say that those 3 months, no, sorry, it was 6 months, they were much more important, and have brought me to another level than all the 3 years I studied sports management before. So once again, I'd like to emphasize how important experience in sports is compared to education in sports. I also did 2 internships, one at Borussia Mönchengladbach, the football club based in Mönchengladbach, and one for Sky Germany. So yeah, as you mentioned before, Andrea, there has been some internships that I did. Yeah, and once again, all of them have been very important to myself. Have been very have opened doors to my future career, I would say. Yeah, then this 1 year in Madrid happened, and I got to see the other side, the business side, the economic side, and both together, I think, was the perfect mix for myself. So yeah, as I said, I finished my master management degree end of December 2019. I was looking for a job right after this. My plan initially was not to leave Germany again. I was looking for jobs in Germany, actually. But it was not too easy to find something. Imagine there are 18 clubs in German Bundesliga. Football is the one thing for me, so I was primarily looking for jobs in football. And jobs are definitely limited in this industry. But nevertheless, I found this announcement by KPMG Football Benchmark, and yeah, somehow I applied, somehow I got accepted, and now I'm here in Budapest for a bit more than 2 months now. I started end of February. Yeah, basically I was very lucky to find a job before all this Corona stuff happened, because I could imagine now it's even harder to find something. But I'm not trying to worry you. I guess if you really want to do it and you really want to work in sports, there are ways to do so. So no worries. And yeah, now I'm working for KPMG Football Benchmark, which is based in Budapest. We could be based anywhere in the world. This is simply due to the fact that our head of sports, KPMG Global Head of Sports, he has been living in Hungary now for, I think, 15 years, 20 years. So only because he is here, all his team has to be here too, which is quite logic. Yeah, KPMG has more than 50 partners and more than 1,000 consultants working in sports. But here in Budapest, we consider ourselves to be the center of excellence when it comes to sports consultancy, when it comes especially to football projects. Yeah, our team here is rather small. We only have 12 people working in this benchmark, but we are focused only on sports and mainly on football projects. Maybe a bit more to what exactly we are doing. On top of let's start in a different way. I think you all know KPMG and you all know what KPMG does, like the regular audit and advisory projects. We also do this. We do this related to sports projects. But on top of this, we also have the football benchmark, which is basically 3 tools in order to benchmark. It is a collection of data that we own, that we collect, that we control. The first one, it is related to club finance and operations. And it's basically an analytical tool to compare financial statements of football clubs all over the world. In this collection, we have more than 200 clubs globally. The second one is our player valuation tool, in which we compare player values. This is based on our own algorithms. We have players for more than 5,000 football players in the world. And finally, our social media analytics, in which we collect all the important KPIs for social media channels of all the important sports-related social media accounts of sports people. Yeah, this is what we basically do. My role in this team is that I am responsible for digital marketing and communication. It's not a very clear title. I have to admit it is not only this. It is more. I'm also involved in advisory projects. But my main thing is that I'm responsible for all social media channels. We are present on the major channels such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We also have our YouTube channel. We have more than 1,000 followers across all those channels. And there we promote mainly our business. On top of this, we publish research, we do reports. The most important report and the most popular one is our club valuation report, which we publish once a year. Normally, this is dated to the Champions League final. In this year, it will also be end of May, but the Champions League final is going to be end of August. Corona, you all know. And there I'm also involved. And yeah, I mean, it's so much work to do. It's not limited to social media. It's not limited to advisory. We are only 12 people. I mentioned this before. It is quite interesting, and I could not imagine anything else that I would like to do. Yeah, I don't know how we should continue the basis. What would you say? Do you want me to show you a little bit of the football benchmark tools, or should we start with questions, or do you have questions?
So I think we can, for the time being right now, we can start a bit with the football benchmark tool, if you're allowed to. I mean, you can show us a bit of what the tool is about, and then we can delve into questions that may vary from, the questions can be about the tool, or it can be about specific questions about your role in the industry, and other dedicated questions as well.
Yeah, sure. Oh, wait a sec. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, let me try to share my screen so I can show you a bit of our collection of data that we have. You should be able to see my screen now, right?
Yeah, we can see it. Please go ahead.
Okay, so basically, yeah, I should mention this is rather a B2B platform, so it's not for people who are only interested in sports. It's as I said, a B2B platform. Clubs have rights, have subscribed here to have the right to access this collection of data. Some journalists have, but usually normal consumers are not interested in this, and this is not our goal to give them access to it. Let me start with the player evaluation, because I think this is the most interesting one. We did, maybe I can show you, also publish this report. Now you can see me anymore. I think I'll show you later. What I was trying to say is that we published a new edition of our player evaluation, because obviously due to Corona, there has been some changes in the player evaluation, and therefore we had to adapt our market values to the current crisis. Okay, so this is our tool. Okay, so basically you see our platform here. It shows you currently here the top 15 players by market value. As I said before, these market values are calculated by ourselves. These are our data, our estimates. Of course, this can only be estimated. And as you can see, there has been some changes compared to February 2020. Here, as you can also see, we applied two scenarios, which is quite important for the player values. The first scenario, we assume that the season is going to be cancelled, which has, for example, been the case in French Ligue 1. In the second scenario, we assume that the season will continue behind closed doors and all matches will be played. Obviously, this has an impact on player values, This is why we have two calculations and currently two values, depending on whether the season continues or not. Yeah, then it's up to the user. He can play with the tools. He can filter here on the left-hand side. He can tell the tool to only show players from the Premier League. We can see that Raheem Sterling is the highest valued player by us in the Premier League. Also, his value obviously has dropped due to Corona. We can filter by club. We can say, I want to see only all the players from Manchester City. So we have all the players here. So many filters. You can say you want to filter by nationality, by age. You want to see only the youngest players playing for City. And not too many. Yeah, and that's basically how the tool works. You can keep on going and say that you would like to see the best goalkeeper, meaning that you can also filter by position.
So I think there's a request. There's a request by somebody if you can show the valuation of Atletico de Madrid.
Sure. Give me a second. We go to La Liga. Atletico de Madrid. Here we go. So we have one Atleti fan with us. Nice.
Oh, and then Fabian has made a comment saying that, and the better Madrid team afterwards, please. Okay. There's a war brewing out here, guys. But yeah, let's keep it civil because this is a session.
Yeah.
No fights, please. No fights on this.
Yeah.
No, but basically just to show you maybe one more request, one more team to show. I don't know, anything you want to see.
So there's one request for Real Madrid and one request for Real Betis.
Wow,
Real
okay.
Betis.
That's
Okay.
I think, okay, so there are 3 requests for Real Betis.
Okay, we can show Atleti, we can show Real. We still have Man City.
and Betis is just above. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Betis is an interesting point. Yeah, even I would vote for Betis. Yeah.
So now showing Atleti, Real, and Real Betis. And I mean, for Real Betis, we have to scroll a little bit more down, unfortunately. Here we are. Nabil Fekir, the highest value player of Real Betis. Yeah, I mean, that's the general overview of clubs. Then you can continue and compare sporting performance.
So I think Candido raises a valid question.
Yeah.
So currently, as players, like as spectators, we tend to believe that some players are either overvalued or undervalued. For example, in the tool that you've mentioned, we see that Saul is rated over Joao Felix. So how do you explain that in the scenario? In what senses?
How do you what? Sorry.
So what is the criteria that you take into the valuation of a player?
Okay, I mean, there are many criteria that we take into account. Some of them are differently weighted. I am not going to mention you how they are weighted because, I mean, this is the underlying pillar for us. This is our formula with which we calculate our player values. There are many different factors that are having an impact on this. One is age. One is, for example, the team the player is playing for. If you're playing for a better team, then usually your value is also a bit higher because, I mean, obviously you have the chance to play in this team. It also makes a difference if you play in a league that is assumed to be better. Let's say, for example, Eden Hazard would play in Super League, in Turkish Super League for Beşiktaş. Even though he's the same player, he would have a different value estimate simply because to the fact that the competition in this league is considered to be not as good as in La Liga. Sorry. Yeah, there are more factors, like one very important one, especially when it comes to re-evaluating the values during this Corona time is the length of the contract, because people with a shorter contract length are considered to be lower valued, because currently, very logically, clubs do not have the cash to buy players, to buy good players. Yeah, I mean, there are so many factors. I think I mentioned the most important ones.
So, how do you believe, or basically, how do you estimate that the current coronavirus pandemic will affect the valuations in the, let's say, in the near future of all these players? Obviously, we know negatively, but in negatively, how much? If you're allowed to share that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's an estimate. We try to estimate these values. We say that the purchasing power of clubs is currently not so high, given that there's a lack of revenues. I mean, the main revenue of football clubs is broadcasting rights. Given that a whole season might be cancelled, this will have an impact on revenue streams for football clubs. So obviously, clubs will not have the purchasing power. But as I said before, how exactly these factors are weighted, I'm sorry, I cannot share.
So Nick, we have a question from Khalid. He asks, how are you guys oriented within the KPMG corporate structure? How is the KPMG football benchmark oriented with the main KPMG corporate structure?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, basically within KPMG, every country hosts its own KPMG subsidiary. So in Hungary, it's obviously the Hungarian KPMG, and we are part of the Hungarian KPMG. I mentioned this before, that our head of global sports at KPMG, he is living in Budapest for a while now, and that's why we are part of the Hungarian KPMG.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got a question about how did I mean, did you ever ambition yourself getting this job? I mean, how did you actually? I mean, I don't know. How did you
land this role?
Exactly.
Well, before I went to IE, I always wanted to work for a club. After IE, this kind of changed a bit because, yeah, this is what I'm doing right now is a bit more related to business. It's a bit more related to economics, and yeah, after IE, I felt like this could be very interesting for me. So I started to do some research. I started to check whether all the major consultancy companies, they have something that is related to football. I saw Deloitte's department of football, by the way. I saw Matt when he was here 2 weeks ago. That was also very interesting to see his point of view of things. And yeah, and then it was just luck that I saw this offer by KPMG and I applied.
That's awesome. I think Otmane had a question. How did the process of actually being accepted to a sports business job or internship? What has been the process, or what's your experience on that? On actually getting the opportunity and landing the internship or the job itself?
Well, here this process was a bit different to the usual process of application, because usually you send your CV, you send your application letter, and then you get a call and you are invited to an interview or to an assessment center or whatsoever. Here it was a bit different because everybody who applied, they were invited to take part in a challenge, a 2 weeks challenge, which you had to do a daily exercise, a daily assignment, somehow related to sports management, to digital marketing, to the social media world. Yeah, and after this, there were 2 people chosen. I was one of them, who were invited to Budapest, who traveled. I traveled to Budapest and I had an interview here. And that was my process, which I liked a lot, because I was able to show that, yeah, I was able to do these exercises and I can deliver work which is okay, I guess. So yeah, I really like this approach, because it's not like showing your CV and saying whatever you like and talking a bit of bullshit in your cover letter. So you have to prove that you're able to do stuff, and I liked it.
So Othmani continues the previous question with this one, where he asks, to be accepted in a sports business job or internship, do you have to get some kind of experience in sports before?
Yes. I mean, not necessarily yes, but it is better to have. It is a very good question, actually. For me, it was somehow clear that I really wanted to work in the sports industry. So I started doing sport. I played football for a very long time. When I started, when I was, I think, 4 years old. So sports was always almost daily part of my life. But there are people who are not related to sports at all. For example, my manager here at KPMG, he has been working for KPMG for a long time now, but he worked for the general marketing department of KPMG here in Hungary, and then he moved to the sports department, to our football benchmark. So I mean and he became expert. Actually, football for him was not that important at all, but it became important. So I think if you are interested in sports and you set yourself goals and you really want to achieve them and you do something for it, because of course you have to have some knowledge on it, as for any other subject, I think there are ways to do so. But again, I think starting early with internships, with I don't know what, helps a lot.
Thanks, Nick. So we have a question. Sorry, is somebody saying something?
Parrot is going to ask the question. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Parrot.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the sports advisory practice. So do you have any examples of some projects that are carried out within sports advisory? And also, are the clients usually only the clubs, so football clubs, or are they also investors who want to invest in the clubs? Are they also governing bodies like FIFA or UEFA?
Definitely both. Definitely all aspects and all entities that are somehow related to sports. You mentioned the main ones: clubs, obviously, federations, obviously, but also companies who are close to sports. I can give you one example. There was one esports company, and they wanted to see how they can get better exposure of their esports, how to create a campaign, how to improve their broadcasting and also their performance. And that's why we did benchmarking. We helped them, showing them how other leagues do it. For example, football leagues, for example, Formula One, how those leagues are built up in order to maximize profits, because that's obviously the main goal.
So the next question comes from Bader. What is the size of your team or department?
We are 12 people currently working here. 12 people, but we should keep in mind that there are many more people all around the world who are not working, being part of the football benchmark. But let's say there is any company in Mexico and they contact KPMG, then we work closely together with KPMG Mexico, with the guys there who also understand the country there, who also understand the client. So very often it's more than only members from our team working for one project.
Thank you, Nick. So next question comes from Miguel. Miguel, would you like to go ahead?
No.
I mean, I can. It's written in the chat, but I can speak it if you
Yeah,
want.
it's okay. It's okay. You can go ahead. Not a problem.
Okay. So now my question is, like, do you think your tool is balanced? What I said in the chat, like normalized, because in my opinion, it doesn't really tell the market value of the player. For me, what it says is what it can generate in a determined club. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I said the Fekir example in Betis. Maybe if it was in Atleti or Real Madrid, it would be valued 20, 30, 40 millions more. He was valued 35 million, I think. And I don't really think that shows the actual market value. You know what I mean?
I understand your point totally, but we should keep in mind that the market value is impacted, but not only the performance of the player, but much more factors. And there, obviously, the club plays an important role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. Thank you very much. But like, I think for me, for example, the value is what that player, not what he or she, if she was a girl, of course, can generate in that club. Like, for me, that value should be normalized in terms of what can you actually say that player can do for you. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's strange, but
no, I think I got you now. We differentiate. This is what we're talking about here. This is not the price of the player. This is the value. So I think that's the main difference which we are talking about. So we don't say this Karim Benzema is going to move to Real Betis for, let's say, 35 million in case the season is cancelled. No, we don't know this. We try to estimate the player value, taking into context all the factors which I mentioned. So this is our approach.
Okay, thank you.
So we have the next question from Parav. Parav, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I think it's a fantastic webinar that you guys have organized, and thanks, Nick, for the insights that you've given us so far. I just wanted to understand a little bit more about your role within the company, which is digital marketing. I think the tool is fantastic, and we'll talk about it a little more. I'm sure people will have a few questions, but if you could just elaborate on your tool, sort of your role within the organization a little more.
Yeah, sure, I can do this. So I said this before. I'm mainly responsible currently for our social communication, the base. This is what I do every day, and on top of this, there's more stuff. Like, as I said before, for these publications, there need to be written articles and stuff. There has to be created charts and things like this. Yeah, I mentioned the projects that we have together with other clients. It's a lot to do, basically.
Fantastic.
The next question comes from Khalid. Hi, Khalid.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you, Nick. I wanted to ask about competition. Do you consider it to be the main competition of KPMG football? And is Portas Consulting considered to be a direct competition, or is it focused in a different on different things with?
Sorry, could you repeat the second part? I think your microphone was turned off.
Okay, so I was saying, who do you see as main competition for KPMG football, and do you consider Portas Consulting to be a competition, or is it focused on different things within the sector?
Well, again, we have to differentiate between two things. The one thing is the advisory and audit part, which we do. They are mainly the main consultancy companies, our biggest competitors. Yeah, Matt was here 2 weeks ago from Deloitte. Deloitte has a very strong football advisory too. They are very present in Great Britain and England. They do a lot for the Premier League clubs. We are focused a bit more in Italy, given that our global head of sports is Italian. When it comes to these football benchmarking tools, the best known player valuation tool is by Transfermarkt. I'm not sure if you know this tool. Some might know. When articles refer to player values, they very often source Transfermarkt. And these are our main competitors in terms of these tools. Transfermarkt, however, is a bit more focused on B2C, whereas these tools focus a bit more on the B2B part of the market, especially if you take a look at the club finance data. Or is there one more question on the other tool now? No. Let me quickly go to the club finance, because I think that's a good time to show you this, because it's a bit more related to finance and not so much to player valuation. Basically, as I said before, we try to collect financial statements and try to compare these statements, because very often these financial statements are not aligned. Real Madrid, Manchester United, Manchester City, they account things differently, and we are summarizing here and aligning all these financial statements. If you want to see, for example, the revenues, let me minimize this window. Let's say we want to see La Liga, of course. For the 18-19 season, we can see all revenues for all clubs available. We have three main sources of revenues. One is derived from match days, which is obviously ticketing. The other one, the biggest one, is the broadcasting revenue stream, and finally commercial revenue stream. And this gives us the total operating revenue. If we would like to see, for example, only the broadcasting revenue by club, we can select only broadcasting, and we see that Barca is doing very well in terms of marketing their rights. Yeah, basically that's I won't go too deep into this because there are so many filters and things and data to compare, but only to give you a short overview of what we are doing and what we are able to do with these types of tools. And coming back to my role in the team, to the question that we had before, basically our goal is to promote our tool online. And yeah, that's mainly my task. I try to bring somehow all these data together. In the best case, somehow relate them to one very current news, to one thing that is happening in the world. For example, today it was announced that the Turkish league is going to resume end of June. So I was trying to collect data on Turkish clubs and put them together and create something that hopefully adds value to people who take a look at this.
So right now, Anna has a question. Anna, would you like to go ahead?
Well, yeah, very briefly. Nick, the enterprise value you were bringing together, is it based on comparable multiple analysis, or are you doing DCF, or how deep is the analysis?
It is very deep, and I am sorry, I'm not an accountant. I cannot tell you exactly how this is done. We have our two accountants who do this for us. We can see here at the very back, for people who are not into accounting like me, we have the methodology, and everything is explained for the dumb people like me who are not into numbers. So, yeah, it is a very in-depth analysis, and yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So the next question comes from Othmane. Othmane, please go ahead.
Yes, so I just asked, like, what are your concrete tasks that you do as a digital marketing and communication specialist in KPMG? And what are the most important and demanded skills for this kind of jobs? Thank you.
Let me start with the second part, because I think
Okay.
that's a good question, because that's also the most difficult one to answer to, because if you take a look at all the single individual tasks which I have, I would say it's not you don't have to be Einstein to be able to solve them, but there are very many, and very often all of them come together. So you have to be very structured, you have to work in a very structured way. You have to set priorities, you have to know what people expect from you, what you have to do next. And yeah, you should be very efficient, especially considering that a day only has 24 hours, and you also might want to have some spare time to use. So I think this is by far the hardest part, until now at least. I mean, I've been here for 2 months, and my daily tasks, I said this before actually, it is posting on social media. We want to post twice daily. This is our goal currently. Doing research for this and creating the post, which I'm also responsible for. This is the basis of my work. So I go to work, currently not, but every morning I know I have to post twice daily, and anything else on top of this is also very appreciated, and it depends on the day. If it is a project, if it is, I don't know, any journalist who wants some specific opinion how the industry will develop, there's a lot to do.
Thank you, Nick. So, the question comes from Khaldi. Would you like to go ahead? Hi, Khaldi. It's okay, I can ask the question. So Khaldi asks, how are sports data analysis startups or even football teams data department going to disrupt this entire field?
Well, actually, when I was in IE, I think in October or November, there was one session in IE where one guy from Madrid gave a speech, and this was very interesting. It was a Spanish startup, and they tried, I don't know if you know the movie Moneyball. They tried to apply this to football.
Yeah.
Basically to collect data and to give tips to clubs on which player they should add to their squad. I think there are always niches, and definitely for sure data is going to be very important also in sports. If you consider, for example, how clubs use data in daily practices, currently almost all players, they have this kind of, I don't know how to call it, shirt that tracks all the personal data and says how much you're running, how fast you're running, how many tackles you do and stuff like this. Yeah, I think data also in sports, I mean, obviously data in the whole world is important, but also in football, also in sports, definitely, yeah. So but how Anna, exactly this is going to evolve, I think it's hard to answer.
So Anna makes a comment that Monchi, who's the general manager of Sevilla FC, does the exact same methodology that you just mentioned out here.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he's famous for that. He was the first one who bring big data to his analysis.
Ah, okay, great.
And it's claimed that he has generated more than 600 million euro to Sevilla just from buying and selling players.
Yeah, there you go. There's your answer.
So the next question comes from Manuel Fernandez. Manuel, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Well, Nick, I wanted to ask you, in terms of academics, could you recommend us to study something like a postgraduate degree directly related to football? So, for example, a sports management degree, or something more, I don't know, like data analysis, programming, or business management, so we can further develop some capabilities and then enter the market? well, the football sector more specialized on one topic?
Good question. If you want to enter the sports industry from the business perspective, I would always favor experience over education. So for me, you don't really need sports education. This is my personal point of view. After having done my bachelor in the sports university in Cologne, which was maybe not the best university, I don't know, maybe it's different. I know that there's one very, very interesting, I think it's called FDA, Football Something Academy in Switzerland, who offer programs. I know that there's one in Brussels, and I believe these programs are much more related to business and might be better. But if you ask me, I would always say, go have internships in sports and study something that is related to business. If it is accounting or management or marketing, is not so important, but experience is the best to get into sports.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
The next question comes from Rodrigo. Rodrigo, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted you to show us Liverpool's squad valuation for this season or for both scenarios. I'm sorry.
Sure.
And
Actually,
wanted to ask you. Also wanted to ask you as well if you're familiar with the way Liverpool they have the data set up, how they use it, and how other teams are starting to imitate it as well.
You mean whether Liverpool has our data set and use it?
Yeah, how they are using this data to make different signings. For example, the signing of Mohamed Salah, they only looked at his figures, you know, his the expected goals ratio and stuff like that.
Well, I cannot tell you if they use our tool or not. Even if I knew, I'm sorry, but I would not be allowed to talk about this. And therefore, I can also not tell you if they are using it, how they are using it. I played football myself, and from my experience working for football clubs, these data, especially when it comes to transfers, do not play such an important role. I think more the sporting performance that is visible by scouts, by coaches, is the major factor whether you sign a player or not.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm just saying that's what I've been reading, you know, and I just recommend you to read a little bit about Liverpool's data analysis team, because it's really interesting, and they mention a lot of times a lot of players they have not even seen play live, you know, that they've signed. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I have to read it. True. I haven't read anything about this. It sounds interesting.
So Amador makes a comment. He believes that Premier League players are overvalued in his opinion, which also reminds me that Amador requested if he could show the player valuation for Haaland.
For who?
From Erling Haaland.
Okay, sure.
He had requested that earlier. I'm sorry, I had missed you, Amador. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. Mistake. Oh, there he is. Okay, maybe it's not the best way to show you. Give me a second. Okay, let's say we want to compare Haaland, for example, with Lewandowski.
Ooh, that's a good comparison.
Why is he not showing here? There we go. So please ignore Gabriel Jesus. You have to compare 3 players, so it's only Haaland and Lewandowski.
Wow. So these are the statistics.
These are the statistics, right? Now to take a look at the market value. Maybe that's more interesting.
Nice.
Wow. What a tool.
That's actually an amazing tool that I can, if this is the amount of data that I'm getting from just one tool about valuations of players, of teams, of leagues, I mean, that's amazing. Going ahead. So the next question comes from Javier Gill. Javier, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Hello, Nick. Thanks for the chat. My question is the length of transfer windows going to be changed after this situation? Because I guess there's going to be a lot of uncertainty about a start and at the end of an end of the transfer window, and it may affect the market because we don't
Definitely.
know where it does start and where it finishes, and maybe because of this uncertainty, we don't know if we are gonna be able to buy in every month.
For sure, it's a very valid point, and I agree. There has been discussions about this. I think this has to be ruled by UEFA or even by FIFA, and until there has been an agreement, a decision, we can only expect that the transfer window will be almost as long as it was the last years, the last seasons. No, but you're very right. This will definitely affect the market.
Thank you.
All right, going ahead. The next question comes from Murat. Murat, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, just unmuted. So I have 2 questions actually. So I'm currently working in the live entertainment industry, music especially, and I was wondering if that would create a good basis maybe to land a sports management job later in my career.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, why not? You have to take into account that sports is also there, or is mainly there, to make people happy, to show them something. It's considered to be an event. Sorry.
Yeah.
In the US even more than it is here in Europe, and yeah, I mean, those industries are more related than some others. So yeah, it's a good foundation, I guess.
And do you ever get to travel for a job, or do you have any task to do on match day, for example? And do you have the opportunity to get connections with professionals from clubs, for example?
Yeah, first of all, the answer is yes. No, I mean, the answer is yes, but not, this is not caused by my current job, but rather my father, he's working in the sports industry too. He's working for Borussia Dortmund. So my connections to clubs are more, let's say, on a private basis than on my current professional basis.
Okay, and on match day, like, do you have any task to do, like special task to do for the promotion of?
No.
Okay.
No. We used to post on weekends. We had some posts regarding the most popular games on weekends, especially if it was derbies like Bayern again. No, not Bayern, but let's say Inter against Milan or Real against Atleti. And we analyzed this in terms of squad value, in terms of enterprise value, and we showed these head to head. And this obviously had to be posted right before the game. So yeah, there is work to do on weekends, but this is not related to traveling. So I'm not traveling to any clubs or any clients on weekends because of any games happening. No.
Okay. And just a question that popped up now, actually, like in your marketing tools, do you only use, I mean, I'm sure it's not only social media, but like, for example, do you ever think of, or do you ever enter, how do you call them? You know, the screens in the matches, for example, next to the throw-in lines, for example, like, do you ever do stuff like that?
You mean board advertisement? No. What do you mean?
Exactly, board advertisement, yeah.
No. No. That's not our business now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Murat. The next question comes from Chris Miranda.
Okay. Hello, Nick. I
Hi.
have a couple of questions actually. The first one is, do you offer like any type of internship for current students?
We do offer internships. This was postponed due to Corona, but yeah, we do have 2 interns at the same time here with us, and all possible internships are always announced on social media.
In order to apply to them, what's the procedure?
I think during the time that I have been here, there was no new intern, so I'm not exactly sure how this is selected. No, I cannot tell you anything about this. I think it's not going to be the selection process which I described before, how I was selected. I think this is based more on CV and more on application letter and whether you have some experience already. Yeah.
Yeah, and another question. I'm currently like starting a new project on social media regarding football. Do you have like any advice which you could give?
That's a very general question.
Yeah.
What's your goal? What do you want to do? I mean, you want to get more followers, you want to have more exposure, do you want to have more engagement? What's your...
For instance, I want to get more exposure as well as engagement. Like I'm currently working on three social medias, which gain more like natural views, you could say in that way. And I try to post in one at least 3 times a day, and in the other 2 6 times a day.
Okay. One very personal tip which I figured out during my time here is that whenever you try to target like a national hero, let's say we had one post on the top 5 right backs in the world, or in Europe at least, and there also Achraf Hakimi from Borussia Dortmund was included.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're able to promote this to Morocco, because he's Moroccan, then people will follow you, because that's, for them it's like very, very, very interesting to see something about their hero, to see something about their role model, and yeah. I mean,
rather like more
focusing
general
on niche,
right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Finding niches also is valid in social media.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So we have another question from Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, sorry. No, just one very quick question. You use the data you use comes from Opta Sports, right?
Might be.
The data. The data on the players comes from Opta? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Opta Sports? Okay.
All right.
Sorry, but I think this is also officially announced somewhere, I hope. Yeah, should be.
So I'll be asking a final question, if that's all right, and after that we'll soon head for the closing of the session. So my question is, with respect to your internship with Borussia Mönchengladbach, if you would like to, give out short details of how was your experience there, what was your role, and how did that help you ahead with landing a job with KPMG, if you might.
Yeah, I think first of all, working for a club is very different than working for a company like KPMG, or for a sponsor, or for any entity that is not so closely related to the sports, to the football. Because working for a club means much more emotion for yourself. Very often you're attached to the club, you like the players, you want them to win, and at the same time this motivates you. I'm not saying that I'm not motivated here, but it is different, obviously. And yeah, that's for sure the main thing. Yeah, in my case, I think I was 19 years old, 20 years old. I was at the beginning of my career, let's say. So for me, it was interesting to gain insights, how the processes within the clubs are, how people work together with each other. But during this time, it wasn't like I had too much responsibility, or I had these assignments which are very important for the future.
Thank you. So I think that we will actually change to one last question we have from Murat. That will be the final question for this session.
Sure, let's go.
Murat, would you like to go ahead?
Actually, it was really kind of the same question. I mean, I just asked, how do you feel about working in an objective, let's say, side in an industry where a lot of things are based on emotions and like being like supporting a side? So it was pretty much the same question.
Yeah, once again, it is very different. I'm not saying that it's better or worse, but it is very different.
Okay.
All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. Nick, it was a pleasure to have you today headline our event today. And thank you so much for the insights about your role into the KPMG football benchmark tool that you showed us. It was really great that, you were able to show us the tool. I kind of had that in my head that, maybe there might be some proprietary issues because of which you'll not be able to show the tool, but I'm really glad that you were able to show that to us. And I really thank all of our participants today for their lively questions and this lively session. We hope to come ahead again next week. So Andrea will release the details soon about the next session. But right now, if you want, Andrea, you can go ahead and give a quick peek about what we have next for our in the line of events.
Sure. So on Tuesday, we're gonna have a meeting with the workinginsports.com CEO. He's gonna talk about recruitment cycles, how he sees the market as overall. That was gonna be Tuesday at 7, and then we have our usual Friday session where we're gonna have Mark Matier. He is chief of Optium, which essentially does all the consulting / organizing of major competitions and events, such as the Olympic Games, such as the Commonwealth Games. He has a lot of experience in many sports. So yeah, that's going to be an amazing session. Also, it's going to be more focused on him giving us a lecture about it. And then, yeah, so looking forward to that. And thank you for coming. Thank you, Nick. It was an amazing session. And I think it just went, yeah, it was fantastic.
So before we close out the session, Nick, if it's okay with you, I would request you to share your the contact details, your LinkedIn profile on the chat if people would like to contact you ahead for any further questions they have personally.
Sure. It's my name. I think it should be some. I can text it again. There you go.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Yeah.
So, Nick,
as I said, we're also on social media. Feel free to follow us for all our channels. I would appreciate it.
Nick, thank you so much for taking time out to be a part of this session today. And I hope all of our participants today had a good time. We will be coming ahead, as mentioned by Andrea. We have a lot of events coming in the next days, and as soon as we get more speakers in line, we will be updating everybody on a regular basis. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good week. Have a good weekend.
You too. Have a nice weekend. Yeah.